Hey folks, Ragav here, and I just wanted to quickly talk about a very important topic, which is the science of life. So, for those of you who don't know me, I have a bachelor's degree in cognitive and behavioral neuroscience, and I've studied in the US and I did some research in it before coming back to India. And so I understand the scientific process, and I've learned to apply this into my own life. And that's what this video is all about. It's about how you can apply the scientific process to your life so that like you can see outcomes that you probably would not see if you did not have a conscious scientific approach to life. So that's what this video is about. I don't want to spend too much time rambling, so I just want to share my screen and I'll show you something that I've come up with. So this is a graph that a flow diagram that I came up with, and you can see here is describing the scientific process, and we start from the unknown. Okay, so there is a quantity of unknown, and for all intents and purposes, we can assume that it's infinite, right? What we don't know is so much more than what we do know, even though we've known so much. And if you don't do anything about that unknown, you're going to stagnate. And if you want to not stagnate, then you have to start observing the unknown and then start to generate a hypothesis. A hypothesis is basically a statement that is either true or false. And it is something that you're arriving at after considerable observation. So if you want to know the unknown, you have to start observing the unknown until you start gathering enough insights to form this hypothesis. So this is where the scientific process starts, this whole thing, observation and formation of hypothesis. So this is where you begin. And once you have a hypothesis, and it is possible to have a good hypothesis and a bad hypothesis, it is not exactly a clear-cut process. There is a creative element involved in this process. But if you manage to have a good hypothesis, it will be falsifiable, meaning that it is possible to know whether it is true or not. And that's where we start. So once you have a good hypothesis, then you create an experiment. So this is again, it is a matter of, ensuring that there is a foolproof nature to how you're validating the hypothesis. The experiment is all about validating the hypothesis. So once you design the experiment, then you test whether the statement is true or not. So you made some observations and you come up with a statement and you are now verifying whether that statement is true or not. And when you find out the truth, it is either validated or it is invalidated. The statement is either true or it is false. So that's what a good experiment should do. It should let you figure out whether it is true or false. And once you do, both of these options will generate different outcomes. So when you validate a hypothesis, then you generate a new hypothesis because you basically confirmed this statement. Now you need to come up with a new observation and a new statement, including the knowledge that you've gained from confirming this one. You come up with a new hypothesis, and then you repeat the process. If you have your hypothesis invalidated, then you basically reframe the hypothesis, you make a different hypothesis, and then you start the experiment again. So like this process is a cyclical process. It keeps going on and on. And every time you complete the process, you get new knowledge. It's not that you're going in circles, you're going in a spiral. You're going up. You're going up in the amount of knowledge you've gained. So basically, you have a large quantity of the unknown, and you basically have carved a little bit of that into new knowledge by following this process. So this is what the scientific process. And I'm sure like some of you feel like this is kind of too much detail or too much talk about this. But I want you to understand this process thoroughly so that like the next thing that I'm going to talk about is going to make more sense. Because even though this is not just for scientists to understand, it is for every human being to understand how this happens so that we can actually participate in this and we can conduct ourselves scientifically. So you have new knowledge generated, and this new knowledge can lead to more good things, which is an upgraded model of reality. So basically, everybody has a certain understanding of reality. And as collectively as human beings, we have a certain understanding of reality. And when you have new knowledge, you're basically like reshaping that understanding to be more accurate, more reflective of the actual reality. And also, we have potential application of the newly gained knowledge to solve problems. And I'm talking about things like technology and other applications that you can come up with the new knowledge. And of course, you gain wisdom. Going through this cycle over and over again, it kind of like increases your collective subjective understanding of reality. So this is the scientific process. You start from the unknown and then you come here all the way to all these other things. Now, let's move on to the life process. Okay. So just like in the scientific process, here you have something that is potentially infinite. You can have a lot of unfulfilled desires. Okay. There in life, desire is the most important thing. That is the beginning of your life. I mean, as in not as in like, your biological life. I'm talking about your subjective life as a human being. It always starts with a desire for something. And that desire is not something that comes out of nothing. It happens out of observation. It happens out of your response to these observations. You form these desires simply by responding to the reality around you. So you're observing the reality, and we'll come to this one in a bit. So you're observing reality, and then you generate desires. And it is possible to generate desires unconsciously or consciously. It's up to you. A lot of people go through their lives forming unconscious desires. They haven't really scrutinized why it is that they must desire this. They just happen to desire. Maybe you sit there and watch a certain commercial on TV, and suddenly you form this desire. I want to own that car, or I want to have a partner that looks just like that, or I want somebody in my life who does these things. These are all desires that you form, and we form desires all the time. It's a matter of whether we form it consciously or unconsciously. So once we form this desire, naturally, the human instinct is to figure out how to attain this desire, how to fulfill this desire, and that's where you put in effort. So you figure out a certain direction of effort to put in, and then you put in that effort. And if that effort succeeds, your desire is fulfilled. That is the definition of that success in this context. So if you put in the right amount of effort in the right direction, then your desire is fulfilled. And then you go on to the next step, which is creating a new desire. Because if you do not do this, then you go into this purposelessness. Because if you do not have any desire, that means that you have no purpose for existing. So desire is a very fundamental aspect of life. And when you have your desire fulfilled, you naturally tend to desire for something new. And a lot of people unconsciously generate these new desires. It's a very careless way of living, if you ask me. Now, the other possibility here is that you put in all the effort to fulfill this desire, but you do not. Then you simply either increase your desire, change the effort, or change the object of desire. So you do any one of those things, and then you go at it again, and you put the effort again, either with an increased amount of effort, or changing the object of desire, or changing the strategy of the effort. So this cycle is again a very endless cycle. It can go on forever as long as you're alive. And at the end of each cycle, you reach certain fulfillment. Every time you fulfill a certain desire, you reach a certain state of fulfillment, a certain state of contentment in your life. And along with that fulfillment comes your life experience. Obviously, you didn't put all this effort without any kind of like outcome. Even whether you succeed or fail, you are generating life experience all the time. So every time you complete this cycle, you're generating life experience, you're generating fulfillment, you're improving the quality of your life. It depends on how you take the failures. You can fail at something and be completely devastated, or you can take that as an approach to reevaluate your efforts and reevaluate the object of desire. maybe you could say that maybe this is not the right time to desire for this thing. So you give up and then choose something else to desire and move forward. Or you realize that your effort is insufficient. You look back and see that I didn't put in enough effort, or I was not very wise in choosing what to put effort into. And then you can reframe things, and then you can reach this fulfillment. So with every fulfillment, you're improving the quality of life either through your learnings or through the fulfillment. And you're also generating wisdom, because life experience always comes with wisdom. And this is the same for the scientific process as well. So to offer a side by side comparison, you can see that it's identical. The process is identical. You have a large amount of unknown, you have a large amount of unfulfilled in your life. And if you do not do anything about it, you're leading to stagnation. And if you do not do anything about it, you're leading to a certain sense of purposelessness, or a certain sense of like debilitation in your life. And it always starts with observation. Whether the scientific process or your life process, you have to observe. If you do not conduct this process properly, you will not arrive at an intelligent hypothesis or an intelligent desire. It is a very important thing to desire intelligently, consciously. Because, like I said, too many of us go through our lives, you know, making up desires meaninglessly. It's something that is almost done on instinct, reactively. You're reactively producing new desires. And anybody could hijack your mind to create a new desire and plant it in your head. And you will go spend years and years putting in that effort to fulfill that desire without even knowing how you started. What was the thing that set you into this motion? Because we spend years and years trying to fulfill something. And if you didn't do it consciously, it just means that you are probably going to spend many years to arrive at a point where you realize that you're stupid. You didn't spend enough time to considerately create this desire. And that is one thing that I really emphasize on, because I've been there. I've spent many years following something that didn't lead to where I thought it would lead me. And then I had to reformulate my desire and then change things. And this happens to everybody. Nobody is born with an understanding of how to conduct their life in a scientific process. It's something that we all learn, and it is never too late to learn this. So conducting your observation of life in a very methodical, conscious, and dispassionate way is actually very, very important, so that like you arrive at a very wise desire. You arrive at something to desire that is actually going to meaningfully change your life in a positive way. Because desire is where it all starts. Like I said, desire is very, very fundamental to the life process. You have to desire in order to exist. Even if you're not doing anything, sitting in your bedroom, not doing anything, you have a fundamental desire to be alive. That is the reason why your body is operating autonomously. So desire is fundamental, and it is important that we choose our desires wisely with and consciously. And you also need to make sure that this process where you are choosing how to spend your effort, because along with the unfulfilled, we also have a certain finite amount of effort that is left in us. As human beings, we all have a certain finite amount of effort that is left in us, and we can vary how how much effort is left depending on how we conduct our life. If you live a healthy lifestyle, maybe you have more effort left in you than somebody who's living it in a very unhealthy way. So if you manage to live healthy and conduct your life consciously, you can increase the amount of reserve that you have to go after like multiple iterations of this desire fulfillment process. So you can keep expanding and going to new territories and creating new desires and getting more and more life experience and more quality of life and wisdom along the way. This is how you live a fulfilled life. You have to make sure that you are competent enough to choose the right thing to desire and put in the right amount of effort in the right directions and constantly generate this life experience and quality of life and wisdom in the direction that you choose. So if you manage to do this with yourself, then you cracked life. You basically figured out how to live a fulfilled life for yourself. And this is something that each of us has a duty towards ourselves for. And that is something that I just want to convey through this video. I just think that more people should realize that there is a scientific approach to living your life. That means that you're observing intelligently, and you're creating an intelligent desire that is consciously chosen by you, and you understand why it is that you chose that desire. Because trust me, it is not so easy. I've spent years in a state of purposelessness, figuring out what it is that it is important to desire for yourself, because it's not an easy thing to choose. It is you can spend years and not figure it out, and it takes time. It takes time to understand yourself. You have to observe. That is where observation comes in. You have to observe within yourself, and you have to observe around you as well, because it's not just about what's within you or what's around you. It's about both. You have to observe both keenly and consciously in order to generate the sufficient insight required to form the right desire. So when you have the right desire, you should still have enough effort left in you to go and fulfill that desire. So that is where most people get lost, because like they arrive at this realization too late in their life. They arrive at this realization that they made a mistake in that desiring process too late in their life. And now they don't have enough effort to go and fulfill the new desire that they have. So they have to basically tone down their desire to meet the amount of effort that they have left. So it's like if you're driving a car and you realize that you were driving in the wrong direction for all this time. So now you have to basically look at how much fuel there is left. And then, you go and pick a destination that is good given the amount of fuel you have. Because in life, you don't get refuels. If you miss your life into going into the wrong direction, that is the life that you have lost in being able to go to the right places. So you have to like curtail your ambitions. You have to curtail your desires if you don't conduct your life intelligently. So if you want to live your life to the fullest, be very conscious about how you observe your own life and what's around you, and have the right desires to aspire for, so that you can have the most amount of effort to go after those desires, so that like you don't spend a life of regret, of thinking, if only I had known this when I was younger, then I would have been in a much better place. So that is the essence of this video. I just wanted to talk about how important this is and how underappreciated this one little thing is. And if you manage to do this, then subjectively your life is as good as it can be. So I hope this is useful. If you have thoughts, please leave a comment. And if you would like me to talk about anything in specific, please leave a comment as well. I hope you can subscribe and stay tuned. And I'm honestly like I feel really glad that I started doing this. I actually showed my parents one of the earlier videos that I just made, and they're hooked because like I was showing them this on the TV in the living room, and they were like, "This is amazing," and they were happy to see that I was putting myself out there, because I had a conversation with my parents as well about how important it is to put yourself out there. Because if you don't, people don't know you, people don't know your experience, and maybe that's something that I can pass on to you as a message. Maybe you can start doing the same. I'm no different from you. Like, I'm very, very normal person. I don't have extraordinary credentials or intelligence or anything. I just have whatever I think is brewing in my mind that I think is valuable enough to share. And you can do the same. Everybody has different levels of like how good they are. There are so many people who are better than me, and so many people who are you know not so good as me. But still, we all have something that we can offer as value to others, and I think we should all start doing that. And if we do that, I think it one or two things can happen. Either you add value to others, or somebody comes and tells you that whatever you said is useless, or you're wrong, or it is not valuable. And you can look at that and you can learn. You can really have the chance to reflect and see whether your observations are correct. Because this is actually, again, what I'm doing is actually a scientific process for myself, because like I'm sharing my mind with the hopes that somebody can come and tell me whether I'm right or not. And if somebody tells me that I'm wrong, then I have to listen to them keenly and understand as to why is it that I'm wrong, so that like I can actually go and change things, and instead of wasting years being wrong, I can actually fix that immediately and then go to a better direction. So we don't have to be correct all the time. We are not always correct. Nobody is. We all make mistakes, and it is important to embrace that process into your process, so that like you're not debilitated by your fear of being wrong. So that's why I'm doing this, and in this process, your inputs matter a lot. So I would appreciate if you could leave a comment. Thank you so much. See you next time with another topic. Bye.